We are Jim and Shirley Closter. Been that way for a long time.
We've been married 63 years.
How did we meet? Well, I had gone to Ackley, Iowa, to a carnival with a friend of mine, and I saw this girl underneath a street light, and I kind of liked what I saw. And this was, I believe, either on a Thursday or a Friday night, and by Sunday night I had figured out who it was and where she lived. And on Sunday night I went out and asked her for a date to go, I think, to a movie, if not roller skating. And she decided she would go with me.
Actually, I knew who he was because in band, the older girls would pass around his senior picture and talk about him because he was graduated before I did. We had our first date in August. He proposed in December. I got my ring the following May. Actually, I don't remember when you proposed.
I don't either. Wasn't important.
We were at a drive-in movie, and I had to get into the glove compartment in order to get something out. I don't know what I had to get out, whether it was a program or of what was going on, or maybe they gave us one and I had to put it in, but I opened up and the ring was there and I saw it. So I got my ring at the drive-in movie, and then we went and had root beer afterwards. I worked for a year at Lutheran Mutual Life Insurance Company in Waverly, and then we got married in April of the following year.
Our first home was west of Bristol, a pretty fair-sized house for the two of us. And from there we went into Dumont to another house, pretty nice little house. And I think while we were in the first house, Becky was born. And it was an extremely old house, and it was a cold one. We were there a while, then we went into Dumont, into a real nice house. Teresa was born there.
And Tim.
And Tim was born there too. And then we moved out in the country just north of Dumont there. The house was too small for the 6 of us. 7 of us with Sandra. We ended up buying an old house, moving this old house 8 miles, and then added to it on 5 acres of ground. And then we proceeded to live there for 48 years. We are a family now. Of the two of us, we're 61 with the grandkids, the greats, the in-laws, and the outlaws. Yeah. God's been good.
Well, we had our 5 children in 7 years, so they were very close together. And the one thing that we needed was some quiet alone time. So we made sure that 8 o'clock was bedtime for them. And then we could have a little time to sit down and cool our heels too. So that was one, I guess you would say, tradition. Popcorn on Sunday nights. We always had popcorn on Sunday nights. Sunday mornings, Jim was really good about getting up and making pancakes for everybody, which was really nice because it took a little while to get everybody all organized and ready and out the door in time to get to church. We also quite often would invite other families or somebody home from church for Sunday dinner, because I usually put a roast in the oven and potatoes in the crock pot, and then all I had to do was fix a vegetable and I usually had a dessert made up of some kind. And we never knew who would come, but we would always bring somebody home. And sometimes the kids would get told to take a smaller portion, or we just cut the roast a little bit thinner or whatever, in order to have everybody have something to eat. Being hospitable is not entertaining, it's sharing what you have, or what you are going to have, you just share with somebody else. Then as the children got older and got married, then we would have our Christmas on New Year's, and our a time we called it the Cloister Camp Out, when they all came to our place. And as the more grandchildren came and there wasn't room in the house, then they would set up tents outside, and there were a lot of traditions that we started with all of that too. In your home, you're going to have children that have a lot of different personalities. So it's important that all of those personalities are acknowledged, and there's still a unity even though everybody is a little different. And we've seen that as we bring in the in-love guys and gals, and the grandkids, and they're getting married, and the greats and everything. There's just, yeah. One thing that helps with disagreements, if you can see the humor in it. We have the green fish loaf story that is passed down from over the years. I was intent on getting extra vitamins into the family, and I found this recipe for salmon loaf that used spinach in it, frozen spinach. So I made it, and then on top you were supposed to melt some cheese, and I don't even remember what the kind is, but I know that it wasn't Velveeta, it was something else, and I bought it especially. So I presented this at supper. Whenever I have something new or unusual, like liver, I would do mashed potatoes so that everybody would at least have something that they would like to eat. So, and the rule in our house was everybody had to at least eat one spoonful of whatever was on the table, even if they did not like it. So the fish loaf was passed around with the mashed potatoes and whatever else I had for vegetable. And it was pretty quiet. It was actually green because the spinach turned it all green, if you can imagine that. And I think Sandy said she had hers pretty well eaten. I don't know, but the rest of the kids were playing around with it. And Jim looked up at me across the table and said, "Don't ever serve this again." And immediately all 5 children stood up and clapped. It was hilarious, even though it probably could have hurt me, but it was hilarious, and we still talk about seeing that. And no, I have never made green fish loaf again, and I do not have it in my recipe file.
It was probably the most healthful dish you could ever put on the table.
So we do a lot of laughing.
We're the Cloisters. James and Shirley. We've been married a little over 62 years, and I hope this little incursion into our life entertains you and also makes you think.